Hi there, it's Becky. Welcome to Books and Beads. I love to read and I'm a cozy crafter, so we're going to talk about books and beads fairly regularly here. And today I'm bringing you some recent Pacific Northwest reads and a Pacific Northwest read that is on my TBR list that I picked up not too long ago. I myself am from the Pacific Northwest, and I always love it when I come across books that involve the Pacific Northwest in some way. So I thought that would be a fun topic for today's video, and it's just a beautiful place. Whether you're from here or not, it's a great setting for a lot of stories. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about that a little. So let's get the elephant in the room out of the way right away. Obviously, one of the more better known books that takes place in the Pacific Northwest is the Twilight saga. Stephenie Meyer literally Googled the rainiest place on earth and Forks, Washington came up, and so she set her books there. And here we are today. I distinctly remember, like in the heyday of Twilight, my friend and I ended up going to the Wizarding World theme park in Orlando, Universal Studios. And we were talking to one of the workers there, and he was like, "Oh, well, where are you from?" And we said, "Seattle." And he goes, "Sorry for Twilight." So the reach of Twilight was far and wide. Everybody associated it with Washington State for a long while. And they're fun reads. I was completely obsessed with those books as a teenager. As they were coming out, I was like, "Ah, these are so good, Team Edward." But I approached them with a little more perspective as an adult now, but still fun, still entertaining. The movies are quite nostalgic. And yeah, I did go to Forks, Washington because of Twilight. My friends and I took a road trip up there. And it is a very small town, but it's absolutely beautiful. We went to First Beach, La Push, baby. It was gorgeous. So it does make a beautiful day trip. If you're in the area, there's lots of good hiking around the Olympic Peninsula. And now they have like a Twilight museum, and they do a Twilight festival up there. So I would love to go back and experience that. But yes, Twilight is probably the most well-known Pacific Northwest book out there. Another Pacific Northwest book is Firefly Lane by Kristin. I recently read this one, and I absolutely loved all of the Pacific Northwest references. It takes place in Washington State as well. So the girls, it's about two best friends, Kate and Tilly. They grow up in Snohomish, Washington, and then they end up in Seattle. Then Kate lives in Bainbridge Island. These are all real places. The references are spot on. They talk about like the first Starbucks, Pike Place Market in Seattle. People are drinking Rainier beer. If you know, you know. It's just, I loved all of the references. And I believe Kristin lives in the Pacific Northwest. So you could tell that she's from here and she knows what she's talking about. It was a treat to read that. I actually really loved this book, but the end had me sobbing. So if you want to be emotionally wrecked, definitely read this, but it's a great journey. It just follows these girls' lives throughout the decades. Starts in the 70s, ends in the 2000s, 2010s. So really, really good. Highly recommend this book. Another one that I was surprised to find takes place in the Pacific Northwest is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. This one is by Roshani, Chokshi, and it also takes place in Washington State. But this one is a little more vague about where exactly it takes place. It says an island in Washington State. So I was trying to guess because this is about a very rich family. So it talks about this mansion on an island. So I'm thinking, okay, Vashon Island is a possibility, but Vashon Island, I've been there before and it's not like uber rich. Mercer Island is a good bet, or Bainbridge Island. That's where a lot of money is. So it could be one of those. So it was fun to kind of guess, like, where does this take place exactly? But I think the Pacific Northwest is such a great setting for a book like this. This book is steeped in fairy tale lore and imagery, and the Pacific Northwest is such a perfect setting for that. We've got the rain and the clouds and the lush greenery and the moss. such a great setting for this. And this book is kind of mysterious as well. There's a mystery about this woman's past and what happened to her childhood friend. Oh, I loved this book. It was a 5-star read for me. I want to go back and read it again. Most of the story takes place in this manor called the House of Dreams. And so in addition to like trying to figure out what island this house is on, I was also picturing this manor home as a real life location that you can find in Washington State. Thornwood Manor, which is in Lakewood, Washington, I thought that fit the description of this perfectly. People can get married there. I've stayed there. It's a nice little B&B as well. It's gorgeous. And also it was used for filming of the Rose Red miniseries on TV. It's already got ties to Hollywood and literary references, so I thought Thornwood Manor is the House of Dreams to me in this book. Great story. I absolutely loved this one. And this one I haven't read yet, but I picked it up because it takes place in the Pacific Northwest. Every time I see that a book takes place in the Pacific Northwest, I feel like I have to pick it up because it just speaks to me. So this one is Drizzle, Dreams, and Lovestruck Things by Meyer Prasad. And I just love the cover. It looks so Pacific Northwest already. So the cover is what drew me in. This is why I picked it up. And then lo and behold, oh, and look at the back. It's got a pretty little mansion. Lo and behold, it takes place in my home. So this takes place in Orcas Island in the Pacific Northwest. This is part of the San Juans, and it's absolutely beautiful up there. I've done a whale watching tour up there. Amazing. We saw orcas up close. It was incredible. Sisters are helping their dad run his inn on Orcas Island, and it is named the most romantic inn in America, so business starts to heat up. So it's about 4 sisters and how this inn kind of unites them and also leads them to follow their dreams. It sounds super sweet. The description says it's perfect for fans of To All the Boys I Have Loved Before by Jenny Han. And judging on the cover, I think it will follow them throughout the 4th season. So I think this will be a good rainy day read. This one just seems like it'll be cozy and nice to curl up with. So super excited to dive into this one. If you're looking for more Pacific Northwest recs, Powell's Bookstore on their website has a list of top PNW books that they recommend. I love the staff picks and recommendations at Powell's. They always have really good lists that will get you thinking about different books, and maybe you'll add some to your TBR. It always gets me excited for new books. So definitely check out that list if you're looking for more Pacific Northwest books. And this is another one that I haven't read yet, but I've heard good things. Snow Falling on Cedars. That one also takes place in the Pacific Northwest. Let's also talk about some honorable mentions from film and TV. I already mentioned Rose Red, so I looked it up. That was actually scripted by Stephen King. It's not based on any of his books, but it was filmed at Thornwood Manor, which is in Lakewood, Washington, and it's inspired by the Winchester Mystery House. So Sarah Winchester built that house, and she was supposedly guided by spirits to keep building. She could never stop building, or the spirits would haunt her. She was very into the metaphysical. And I've been there, and it's quite spooky, but it was a fun place to tour. And I've been to Thornwood Manor, where the Rose Red miniseries was filmed, and it was fun. You can stay there. They have a little bed and breakfast, and in the room they had the DVD of the Rose Red miniseries that you could watch while you were there. So of course I did that. I did want to mention they did do a book tie-in with the miniseries. They did Ellen Rimbauer, My Life at Rose Red. So this is like written as the diary of the woman who lived there. And I remember picking this up after the miniseries came out, and I thought it was so like dark and spooky. So I actually really enjoyed this. And it's funny, it says it's edited by Joyce Reardon, PhD, with an afterword by Stephen Rimbauer. Those are not real people, those are characters in the miniseries, so I thought that was funny. This is obviously ghostwritten by someone else, but to keep it realistic, we're gonna say it was these guys. But yes, this also takes place in the Pacific Northwest. It takes place in Seattle, but they filmed it in Lakewood, where the manor is. So some other honorable film and TV mentions. The Goonies was filmed in Astoria, Oregon. Oh, I love that movie so much, and it's very Pacific Northwest. And then if you like kind of dark, spooky type things, Twin Peaks was also filmed here up in Snoqualmie, actually. So that's another good one for those dark, suspenseful PNW lovers. And then more tying in books and movies with the Pacific Northwest. Practical Magic. That is a movie based on the books by Alice Hoffman. It was filmed in Coopeville, Washington, and that's such a gorgeous setting for witchy doings. So Practical Magic has a little bit of a Pacific Northwest tie-in. And then this isn't directly Pacific Northwest, but the description of the book sounds like it has a Pacific Northwest feel. I want to add Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young to my TBR list because it sounds like it would fit the vibe of a Pacific Northwest setting. It's about a woman living on an island and running her family tea shop, trying to forget her dark past when her best friend was found dead and her lover was accused of the murder. The island is rooted in folklore and magic, and strange things start happening. That absolutely sounds like it could happen in Washington State. Spooky, rainy, magical things. Yes. At one point, all the trees turn a different color overnight. I would love to see that depicted on the evergreens that we have here in Washington State. So I want to add that one to my TBR and just imagine that it takes place here in the Pacific Northwest. And I loved Adrienne Young's book, The Unmaking of June Pharaoh. I thought that was absolutely great. So I'm sure this is going to be another good one. So those are my picks for the Pacific Northwest. Let me know what books you have read that take place here, which ones you would recommend. I would love to hear it and talk about it with you. And make sure to subscribe and follow along so we can chat about more books and do some cozy crafts. I will see you for the next one. Bye.